Hi and welcome to the House Cafe. I'm Sam from Triple Coffee. We're going to be taking you through some different techniques on how to make the best coffee here at the cafe. We're going to look at three main skills today which are going to equip you to be able to make the best coffee possible here at the House Cafe. We're going to do espresso routine, textured milk and silky milk. Once you've got those three techniques, you'll be the best barista in the world. Let's first look at the espresso routine. So first thing that's really important to note is that we want to keep our group handle in the espresso machine all the time. This is for two reasons: to keep it nice and warm so that the little holes in the bottom of our coffee basket don't expand. That stops the water from coming through too quick, which is going to give us a sour taste in espresso. And the second reason is to preserve the seal inside of the group head from going brittle and allowing hot water to run down the group handle and burning our hands. Okay, so now we're ready to go over to the grinder and we're going to place our group handle on the holding basket. We're going to press the double shot button and let that coffee grind through. Once we've got our double dose of coffee, it's really important to distribute the espresso grounds so we get a nice flat surface. So you can use your hand for this. Doesn't need to take 20 minutes, just making sure that it's nice and flat before we come to our tamping. So it's important to rest the edge of the group handle on the surface, place our tamper on top, and then make a right angle with our elbow and press down as hard as we can. Once we've done that, we're going to insert the group handle back into the espresso machine, left to right, grab our cup and press our double shot button. The espresso will now flow out. It should take 25 to 30 seconds and a nice even flow. Once the espresso's finished extracting, pop it to one side. Take the group handle out, right to left. Use our ground straw to knock out any old coffee grinds, and then our brush to make sure there's none left at all. Come back to the machine, use the double shot button or any of the buttons just to rinse the shower plate quickly, which is where the water comes from in the espresso machine. Reinsert our handle, and then we're ready to go. Okay, so we're going to look at our milk texturing, which is the fun bit. So we're going to look at two different types of milk texture, silky and textured milk. We're going to look at the silky first. The silky is going to be for our lattes, our mochas, our hot chocolates and our flat whites. And that's that sort of silky, shiny looking milk that you're used to drinking out and about most places that serve coffee. It's a super easy technique, and once you've got it, you're going to be away doing all the best patterns and coffee shapes in the world. First things first, let's start with our milk pitcher. Some people call them jugs, I call it a milk pitcher. We need to make sure this is nice and cold. What we don't want is to rinse this out with hot water or put it in the dishwasher so that when our cold milk touches it, it doesn't start heating up very slowly first. Really luckily on these milk jugs we've got these spouts, and on these spouts we can use those to measure how much milk we're using for each drink to make sure there's no wastage, and also to make sure that we get the right amount of microfoam every time. So for our large lattes, we're going to fill the milk up to the bottom of the spout, and this is the spout section here, so just the bottom there. We're going to prime our steam arm ready for use, and that just ensures that there's only steam being released from the arm and not water. We want to have very little water added to the milk, just steam if possible. So a quick little purge and we're ready to use it. We're then going to plant our milk jug on the drip tray. This is going to stop us from bobbing up and down when we're steaming the milk and adding different amounts of microfoam, and that'll give us a nice consistency across our team. So we're going to plant that milk jug. We're then going to use our hands to position the steam nozzle in the right place for steaming the silky textured milk. So what we want is it to be slightly off center and just under where the screw goes into the nozzle from the steam arm. If you look closely, you can just see it just sitting underneath the screw point. Once we've got that position right, we're just going to turn it on all the way as quick as possible, slightly off center so we get a good vortex which mixes the milk and the air together to give us that texture, and tilted towards us slightly just so we can see what's going on inside the milk pitcher. That tut-tut noise at the beginning is the air going into the milk pitcher, which will give us the texture we need for those silky drinks. We're then going to use our right hand to feel at the bottom of the jug for when it's too hot to touch. When it's too hot to touch, we're going to put our milk jug to one side, use our steam arm cloth to wipe the steam arm, and purge the steam arm to make sure there's no excess milk left in the bottom of the steam arm. If we've got any bubbles, we want to knock down our jug on the black mat and give it a nice swirl. Then we're going to grab our large latte cup. We're going to start from a height to start with, pouring in round in circles. When we're 2/3 full, we're going to stop, tilt the liquid right to the edge of the cup, bring the spout of the pitcher as close to the top of the drink as possible, tip into the center, and flatten our left hand. Okay, so what we've got here is our large latte. What we can see is not the world's best latte art or the most impressive thing in the world, but we have got a nice bit of contrast. We've got our brown and we've got our white. That's been created from when we were pouring. We poured high to start with, which creates this orange section, and when we pour low, we release the microfoam, which is the texture when we added the air when we were steaming the milk, which makes our shapes. And we can see we've just got a nice blob there. It's nice to have a little bit of contrast, and also what we're looking for with the silky milk texture is that when we pull that back, we've got only about 0.5 centimetre to 1 centimetre's worth of foam, and that's what we're looking for the mocha, for the hot chocolate, for the flat white and the latte. The only two differences for the flat white is we're going to use our smaller jug and we're going to use our smaller cup. So once you've got your double espresso in there, if we use this jug and fill the milk to the bottom of the spout on the smaller jug, that's going to equate to the same amount of liquid that is needed for a flat white. So exactly the same as the latte, we're going to fill the milk to the bottom of the spout, place it on the drip tray, have the surface of the milk just under where the arm screws into the nozzle, tilted towards us, slightly off center, and away we go. Pouring exactly the same as the latte, and then you've made a flat white. Okay guys, we're going to do the second of our two milk techniques. This is the more textured milk technique that we use for our cappuccinos. And on our menu, it's the only drink that we use this texture for. So it's basically very similar to our last technique, but we're going to be using less milk in the jug, and we're going to be adding more air into that milk pitcher to give us that thicker texture. So we're going to get the same size milk pitcher for our large cappuccino. This time, instead of filling onto the spout, we're going to fill about 2 centimeters underneath the spout, or a good finger just underneath that spout. We're going to purge again like we did in the first time. But this time, when we're planting our jug on the drip tray and moving our steam arm into position, we're only going to have the end of the steam arm nozzle touching the surface of the milk, almost like it's not touching at all. Once that's in position and slightly off center so we get a good vortex for it spinning around, we're again just going to turn it all the way on. This time you can hear lots of air going into the milk, which is that tut-tut noise, and that's going to give us that lovely texture on top of the cappuccino. Again, we're going to feel at the back of the jug when that's too hot to touch. We're going to turn it off, put the milk to one side, wipe the steam arm, purge it again. Okay, we're ready to pour our cappuccino. Tilt the espresso right to the side of the cup. This time we're going to pour down the side of our milk pitcher. And we're just going to pour it right into the center, flattening our left hand. There we've got a nice textured cappuccino. Now, as you can see, when we pull back the foam, we've got that 1 to 2, 2.5 centimeters, nice and thick foam on top of our cappuccino.